spotted a weakness with one company, they'll visit the site and see if that weakness is occurring throughout every location. So that's a good double check, because maybe we don't have a problem in Southbridge right now, or something we didn't detect yet, but DEP already knows about it, might be happening somewhere else. So they'll come, they do quarterly inspections, and I watch what they write down on paper. And they have no tie to the town or the abutting. They're there to protect the environment.
Okay.
Jim,
and
you know the, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just one other question.
Yeah.
When the environmental impact assessment was done,
Yep.
was there note of the odor that would be involved? Was, you
Yeah,
know,
there's a whole protocol, and this,
Yeah.
the protocol, if you've seen here, an odor follow-up log, it was a requirement under the site assignment conditions in the environmental reporting.
Okay.
And that's when Rick was talking about everybody who gets notified. There's at least 5 different organizations get notified of every complaint.
Okay,
So
so the
people
impact
can-
itself, did it specify any odors that would be associated with it? Or any changes in that? I haven't looked over
I
the
think
environmental
changes-
impact assessment.
I might be speaking out of turn, but I thought the information was that odors would be less,
Would be less
given we're not using the
from the past
yes, you
landfill.
stopped using C and D as fines.
Okay.
And it has, in the last 5 years, I haven't been around that long, but I've canvassed other people, and they said the odors are a lot less. It's a huge improvement up there.
Okay.
Good question.
One of our own councilman that has been a councilman for a number of years, we don't see him nearly so much up here. And he said the same thing, that the odors aren't like they were.
The point that I'd like to bring to the ladies' attention, did you see the hearings for the landfill?
I did.
All right,
yes.
the one thing that the Board of Health's experts did answer, a question posed by myself, that their monitoring formulas that they use are best guesses. The industry itself doesn't know to what length or depth or width these, all they know that there's a possibility that these gases or these landfills can produce poisons or not poisons, and produce harm that are really best guesses. So I think what you guys ought to be doing is you're getting these reports to do some scientific due diligence and get to the bottom.
I do believe we've been trying to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, but
Can I just cut you short there for a minute?
Sure,
To-
go ahead.
To speak to the same thing you're talking to?
Sure.
I am not sure that the suggestion of some sort of at least temporary monitoring at these sites that seem to be very active with odors is maybe not something we should investigate, guys. We spend the town and Casella spend a lot of time, and DEP too, spend a lot of time and energy and money and resources chasing this down. My own fault, you can probably tell by my frustration, it takes a toll after a while, over and over and over again. Maybe we should investigate that as something to put there and be definitive. And that should answer anyone's scientific versus anecdotal evidence question. Now, maybe it's something to bring up, you know?
yeah.
This might be helpful. When you do your parts per billion test,
Talking
to him through you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be helpful here. I'm not trying to give you a hard time. When you do your test, do you put the reading, for example, that's 150 parts per billion, or do you just put that it's below what the government, the was at 5 parts per billion?
The drone meters that are out on the site read down to, I think, 1 part per billion. So it's just a constant readout. We just get the data. We don't round the data up. The data comes.
So you've captured that information and it can be looked at?
Every 15 minutes, we provide that data to the town, provided the
Quantify it down to parts per billion.
Now, the EPA, that'd be helpful, so people help them. The EPA allows up to 5 parts per billion, I believe, right? I mean, that's like, or no, that's OSHA, I think, right? Where it's 5 parts per billion, 5 parts per million is allowable. Yet, Centers for Disease Control said that ongoing chronic at 150 parts per billion can cause a health problem. So, and it's detectable at as little as 60 parts per billion. So you can have it many dozens of times smellable beyond where it's considered dangerous. And it's still, some doctors will say 150 parts per billion on an ongoing basis like we're exposed to is dangerous. Others will say, oh no, it isn't. It really depends. We all have different genetic makeup. Some of us are more sensitive to hydrogen sulfide than others. It's really up to the Board of Health to determine that fine line of where the health is at risk and where it isn't. And if the Centers of Disease Control haven't really made up their mind, you know, you can't blame the Board of Health for not really, you know, they've got other things to do in their life too, besides, I've spent, oh my, hundreds of hours reading their studies, and they're as boring as can be. But there is a lot of evidence from Centers of Disease Control, like minute amounts on a chronic level. Like myself, the smell from the sewer plant. We're constantly, people down there being exposed to hundreds of parts per billion on an ongoing basis.